A very warm welcome to the Pyramid Guy Short News. Today, I'm going to show you some extraordinary and official documentation that the United States Department of Defense, or the Pentagon, in collaboration with the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO for short, has released as new, previously classified footage. These are 5 videos recorded in the air by the United States military's most advanced electro-optical and infrared sensor systems. But before we get into the second-by-second analysis of the specific frames, we need to clarify an extremely important legal and methodological caveat that the government agency itself emphasizes on its website. According to the Pentagon's official position, these descriptions and visual data are for informational purposes only and should under no circumstances be interpreted as reflecting a final analytical judgment, investigative conclusion, or, say, an irrefutable factual finding regarding the true nature or validity of the phenomena. To put it simply, the Pentagon is showing what the instruments saw, but it's not stating the final conclusion as a fact. The Pentagon's website also states that in certain cases, structural omissions or redactions have been made in the release materials. This was necessary for national security, to protect the identity of witnesses and to maintain the secrecy of military facilities and strategic locations not related to unmanned aircraft, according to their explanation. At the same time, it's also important to note that in the files previously released by presidential order, which contain encounters specifically reported as unmanned aircraft or related anomalous phenomena, no subsequent government redactions were made. Now, let's look at these 5 cases in chronological and technical order, uncovering the clear facts. The stars are literally buzzing about this right now. The first incident occurred in the area of the United States Indo-Pacific Command. The command submitted an official report on an unidentified anomalous phenomenon to AARO. This is, by the way, the longest recording in the package, exactly 4 minutes and 57 seconds long. The footage was recorded back in 2023 with an electro-optical and infrared sensor system on board a United States military platform. Perhaps the most important technical feature of the video is that its quality gradually and drastically degrades over the runtime, but let's just watch the exact time codes. When the recording starts, from the 0-second mark to the 8-second mark, we're in infrared mode. The sensor is tracking a distinct area of contrast. The target tracking system operates automatically, keeping the object constantly in the geometric center of the frame. Then, from 9 seconds until 1 minute and 3 seconds, the operator, or the system, zooms in on this contrast area. The tracking remains stable, and the anomaly maintains its central position. The turning point occurs at 1 minute and 4 seconds. The sensor display then switches to an electro-optical daytime television camera signal. This is a special data collection mode that displays both visible and near-infrared signals. At this point, a dark object is clearly visible on the screen against a clear blue background. However, this visual confirmation only lasts for 3 seconds. At 1 minute and 11 seconds, however, the sensor suddenly switches back to pure infrared mode. And that's when something unexpected happens, because the high contrast area suddenly disappears completely. It's no longer visible within the frame. Then, from 1 minute and 14 seconds, the system attempts to correct the error. It zooms in on the area and manually, well, or automatically, we don't know for sure, but it adjusts the contrast settings to make the object visible again. The attempt is successful, as the high contrast area reappears near the center of the frame. Then, between 2 minutes 17 and 2 minutes 27 seconds, the anomaly becomes unstable for the instruments, repeatedly flickering in and out of the sensor's field of view. At 2 minutes and 23 seconds, however, the system stably detects and tracks the target again, keeping it in the center of the image, and then zooms in further from 2 minutes and 47 seconds. At 3 minutes and 28 seconds, another technical glitch occurs, as the recording seems to, so to speak, drop out for seconds, losing its coherence, as if external interference or a data transmission error occurred. At 3 minutes and 33 seconds, however, the recording returns to its previous normal state, and the sensor stubbornly continues to track the central contrast area. In the final section of the video, from 3 minutes and 47 seconds, the sensor zooms out drastically, and then at 4 minutes and 33 seconds, the contrast area finally leaves the field of view, jumping in and out several times. In the last 4 seconds of the recording, there is no content at all. But then let's move on to the second recording, which is also linked to the Indo-Pacific Command, but a year later, as it was recorded in 2024. This is a significantly shorter 1 minute and 46-second video recording, which comes purely from a military platform's infrared sensor. The first 12 seconds of the recording follow the standard military pattern, meaning the sensor tracks a single contrast area in the center of the frame. However, at 13 seconds, the morphology of the anomaly changes. The operator zooms in on the target, which by then clearly appears on the display as an elongated contrast area and is positioned slightly to the left of the center of the frame. The most thought-provoking moment occurs at 29 seconds, because that's when the sensor zooms in on the target once again. The structure of the object, which seemed uniform until now, undergoes a drastic transformation. The contrast area now appears on the display as a regular line, consisting of several smaller contrast areas, and these separate points or objects move in complete coordination within the sensor's field of view, specifically moving from the bottom right corner toward the top left corner. Then, from 0:34 until the end of the video, for over a minute, the sensor continuously scans these formations. As their distance from the sensor increases linearly in the open sky, the contrast areas gradually fade, and over time, they become less and less discernible in the digital background noise. Next, the third recording is an extremely unique case from both a technical and administrative perspective. This data carrier was handed over to the AARO organization by the U.S. Navy's Unidentified Anomalies Task Force, well, specifically by them back in 2022. The recording itself, however, is significantly older, as it's a piece of footage only 21 seconds long, which, according to investigations, was likely recorded back in 2015 by an infrared sensor on an American military platform. Official sources strongly emphasize that at the time of the original reporting of the recordings, no official data management practice existed at all, specifically regarding records of this nature. But what's even more important is that this data carrier was digitally modified before it even reached the Navy's task force. AARO is presenting it to the public without any changes, exactly as they originally received it. So let's take a look at this 21-second video. In the first 8 seconds, there is no content at all. In the 9th second, a high contrast area suddenly becomes visible near the center of the screen. This phenomenon passes through the sensor's field of vision extremely quickly, moving from right to left, and then in the 11th second, it exits from the top left corner of the frame. From its appearance to its disappearance, only 2 to 3 seconds pass. To allow analysts to get a better look at the fast-moving anomaly, the footage from the 12th to the 21st second is repeated at a much slower playback speed, in this video. However, the 4th and 5th recordings are closely linked, both geographically and organizationally, as both were submitted to AAR by the United States Northern Command, and both date back to 2020, also captured by infrared sensors. The 4th video is only 27 seconds long. After 2 seconds of empty airtime, in the 3rd second, a high contrast area becomes visible to the right of the center of the frame. The sensor immediately begins scanning the area, and due to the camera's movement, it initially appears on the display as if the object is also moving at high speed across the field of view. In the 11th second, the US military software automatically kicks in, and an automatic tracking crosshair or an intelligent targeting reticle surrounds the high contrast area. As the system tracks it, the anomaly's angular size on the display gradually increases, which suggests that it is approaching the sensor. Finally, in the 20th second, the object exits the sensor's field of view on the right side of the frame. Finally, the fifth video, which is 32 seconds long, this one perhaps carries the most specific descriptive information, thanks to the accompanying military documentation. An official military report was actually attached to this recording, the so-called Range Fowler debrief with this identification number. Now, this report describes the observed phenomenon with specific physical parameters, stating that the object was darker, burgundy in color, and could have been about 3.6 to 4.5 meters high. The most important finding of the military report was that the phenomenon moved purely with the wind, and they specifically highlight that the object did not maneuver at all and did not change direction during its flight. In the report, professional pilots and analysts summarize the sighting as most closely resembling a large, somewhat deformed balloon. 5 videos, 5 different military sightings from recent years, straight from the official archives of the Pentagon and AARO. We've seen infrared tracking of gradually deteriorating quality, a line of lights moving in a regular formation over the ocean, previously digitally modified naval footage, an anomaly captured with an automatic crosshair, and finally an object that, according to military descriptions, resembled a large drifting balloon in its physical properties, but as we saw, it certainly was not. The released data might bring us closer to understanding the anomalies detected in military airspace, even if the Pentagon carefully avoids sensationalist conclusions. But what's your take on this? Could they be simple meteorological instruments, advanced drone technologies, or did we see something else entirely in the footage? Share your thoughts in the comments. And next time, I'll be back with more news, because as you can see, the stars are always buzzing about something. Bye everyone!